dare you stand here in the eyes of God? This is an abomination. You are going to hell for this sin.
I was 29 years old when I asked my sister Megan to be my maid of honor. It was a Tuesday afternoon in May, and I was sitting in my Boston apartment with my fiancée Rachel, staring at my phone, working up the courage to make the call. Rachel squeezed my hand. "You don't have to ask her if you don't want to," she said gently. "She's my sister. My only sister. Of course I have to ask her. But she's been cold to you since you came out. She's made it pretty clear where she stands on us." "I know. But maybe this will be different. Maybe being part of the wedding will help her see that what we have is real. That it's not some political statement or lifestyle choice. That I'm just her sister who fell in love." Rachel looked doubtful but nodded. "Okay. But don't be surprised if she says no." I should have listened to her. I took a deep breath and dialed Megan's number. She answered on the third ring, her voice bright and cheerful. "Hey, Jenny. What's up?" "Hey, Meg. How are you? How's Nashville?" "Good. Busy. Derek's working crazy hours at the fund, but you know how it is." "How's Boston?" We made small talk for a few minutes. Surface-level stuff. The weather, work, mutual friends. The kind of conversation you have with someone you used to be close to but aren't anymore. Someone you're trying to maintain a relationship with despite fundamental differences. Finally, I forced myself to get to the point. "Meg, I have something to ask you. Something important." "Sure. What is it?" "Rachel and I are getting married. In September. At the Arnold Arboretum. And I want you to be my maid of honor." The silence that followed was so long I thought the call had dropped. "Meg? Are you there?" "I'm here." Her voice had changed completely. Gone was the cheerful tone. Now she sounded cold and formal, like she was speaking to a stranger. "Jennifer, I can't do that." The use of my full name stung. She'd called me Jenny my whole life. Jennifer was what our mother called me when I was in trouble. "Why not?" "You're my sister. My only sister." "Because I don't support this. I can't publicly endorse a sinful lifestyle before God." I felt like I'd been slapped. A sinful lifestyle? "Meg, it's just me getting married. To someone I love. It's participating in a democratic circus. It's celebrating what the Bible clearly calls an abomination. The Bible also says a lot of things about shellfish and mixed fabrics. You don't seem too worried about those. Don't be flippant. This is serious. Marriage is between a man and a woman. That's what God intended. That's what Pastor John teaches at Cornerstone Baptist. I can't go against that. I'm not asking you to go against anything. I'm asking you to stand next to me on the most important day of my life. To be happy for me. To be my sister. I am your sister. But I'm a Christian first. And God's word is clear on this issue." I could feel tears building behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "Not yet." "So you're saying you won't come to my wedding?" "I'm saying I can't be your maid of honor. I can't stand up there and participate in something that goes against my beliefs. It would be hypocritical. It would be condoning sin. It would be loving your sister. I do love you, Jennifer. I love you enough to tell you the truth. This lifestyle you've chosen, it's wrong. It's against God's design. And I can't celebrate it. I won't celebrate it. This isn't a lifestyle I chose, Megan. This is who I am. I'm gay. I've always been gay. I just finally have the courage to live authentically. You could choose differently. You could choose to follow God's plan. Find a good Christian man. Have a family the right way. I don't want a man. I want Rachel. I love Rachel. Then find someone from your people to be your maid of honor. I'm sure you have plenty of those. The disdain in her voice was unmistakable. My people? What does that even mean? Your liberal friends. Your activist friends. The people who think traditional values don't matter. I'm sure they'd be happy to participate in your circus. I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. They started streaming down my face, and my voice cracked when I spoke. I thought you'd be different. I thought maybe you'd put family first. But you're just like all the others who abandoned me when I came out. I'm not abandoning you. I'm standing on principle. There's a difference. No, there isn't. Not to me. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. Rachel was watching me with concern, reaching for me. I have to go. Jennifer, wait. I'll pray for you. I really will. I'll pray that you find your way back to. I hung up before she could finish. Then I collapsed into Rachel's arms and cried for 3 hours straight. Deep, ugly sobs that shook my whole body. Rachel held me the entire time, stroking my hair, whispering that it would be okay even though we both knew it wouldn't be. I'm so sorry, Rachel said when I'd finally cried myself out. I'm so sorry. She called it a circus. Called us my people. Like we're not even human to her. She's brainwashed. Her church has filled her head with hate disguised as love. She's my sister. We shared a room until college. We told each other everything. We were supposed to be each other's maids of honor. We talked about it when we were kids. I know, baby. I know. How can someone go from loving you to hating you just because you're gay? She doesn't hate you. She hates what you represent to her worldview. She's so rigid in her beliefs that she can't see past them to the person underneath. It feels the same as hate. I know. It does. That night, lying in bed unable to sleep, I thought about my relationship with Megan. Tried to figure out where it had all gone wrong. We'd been so close growing up. Megan was 3 years older, and I'd worshipped her. She was beautiful, popular, smart. Everything I wanted to be. She'd protected me from bullies, helped me with homework, taught me how to do my makeup. We'd grown up in Brookline, a progressive suburb of Boston. Our parents were moderate Republicans, more fiscal conservatives than social conservatives. They'd raised us with traditional values but also with an emphasis on education and independent thinking. Megan and I had gone to Brookline High School together, though not at the same time. We'd had the same group of friends, been part of the same social circles. When I was struggling in high school, trying to understand my sexuality, trying to figure out why I felt different, Megan had been the person I wanted to tell. But I'd been too scared. Because even then, I'd seen signs of the rigidity that would later define her. Megan had gone to Vanderbilt for college, down in Nashville. That's where she'd found evangelical Christianity. She'd always been religious, we both had, but it had been a casual, Christmas and Easter kind of faith. At Vanderbilt, she'd gotten involved with Campus Crusade for Christ, and everything had changed. She'd come home for Thanksgiving her sophomore year talking about being born again, about accepting Jesus as her personal savior, about the importance of biblical literalism. Our parents had been bemused but supportive. I'd been 15 and hadn't paid much attention. But over the years, as Megan had gotten deeper into evangelical culture, the changes had become more pronounced. She'd started talking about modesty, about traditional gender roles, about the importance of staying pure until marriage. She'd become increasingly political, identifying as a staunch Republican, posting on Facebook about abortion and religious freedom and traditional marriage. By the time I went to MIT for architecture school, we were living in completely different worlds. I'd come out to my parents on Thanksgiving 2012. I was 22, home from college, and I couldn't keep living a lie anymore. They'd been shocked but ultimately accepting. My father had needed time to process, but my mother had hugged me and told me she loved me no matter what. Megan's reaction had been different. "This is just a phase," she'd said. "You're confused. College does that to people. All that liberal indoctrination." "I'm not confused, Meg. I'm gay. I've known since I was 16. You can't be gay. You're my sister. You're a Christian. This is a choice you're making, and it's the wrong choice. It's not a choice. It's who I am. Then you need to pray harder. You need to ask God to take away these feelings. He can heal you if you let him. I don't want to be healed. There's nothing wrong with me. Jennifer, the Bible is clear. Homosexuality is a sin. You're putting your soul at risk. The Bible also says to love your neighbor as yourself. To judge not lest ye be judged. Seems like you're forgetting those parts." She'd walked away from that conversation angry, and things had never been the same between us. Over the next few years, we'd maintained a superficial relationship. We saw each other at family gatherings, exchanged birthday cards, kept up appearances. But the closeness we'd once shared was gone. Megan had made it clear that my sexuality was something she couldn't accept, and I'd made it clear that I wasn't going to hide who I was to make her comfortable. When I'd started dating women openly, Megan had stopped inviting me to events. "I can't have you bring that around my church friends," she'd said once. "They wouldn't understand." When I'd introduced her to my first serious girlfriend, Megan had been coldly polite, refusing to so much as shake her hand. And when Megan had gotten married in 2015 to Derek Carter, a hedge fund manager she'd met through her church, I'd been invited to the wedding but pointedly left out of the wedding party. I'd sat in the third row, watching my sister marry a man I barely knew, feeling like a stranger at my own sister's wedding. But despite all that, some part of me had hoped that my wedding would be different. That Megan would see this as an opportunity to rebuild our relationship. That she'd put family before ideology. I'd been so stupidly naive. The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a pounding headache. Rachel had already left for work at Boston Children's Hospital where she worked as a pediatrician. There was a note on the kitchen counter. "I love you. We'll get through this. Call me if you need me. R." I made coffee and sat at our small kitchen table, staring out the window at the Cambridge street below. It was a beautiful May morning, sunny and warm, and I felt absolutely hollow inside. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Megan called me. She said you asked her to be your maid of honor and she said no. Honey, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" I called her back immediately. "Mom, did she tell you why she said no?" My mother sighed. "She said it goes against her religious beliefs. That she can't support a same-sex marriage. She called it a democratic circus, Mom. She said I should find someone from my people." "Oh, Jenny. That's cruel. Did you tell her that? Did you tell her she was being cruel?" There was a pause. I told her I disagreed with her decision. "But honey, you know how Megan is. Once she's made up her mind about something, especially something religious, there's no changing it. So that's it? She just gets to reject me and everyone acts like that's fine?" I'm not saying it's fine. I'm devastated about this. But Megan is an adult. She makes her own choices. I can't force her to do anything. You could tell her she's wrong. You could tell her that family should come before religious dogma. You could actually take a stand. Jennifer, please. Don't put me in the middle of this. You're already in the middle, Mom. We both are. Megan put you there when she decided her church was more important than her sister. My mother was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry. I really am. I'll talk to her again. Maybe she'll change her mind. She won't. You know she won't. Then I'll be there. Your father and I will both be there. And we'll celebrate with you and Rachel. That's what matters. But it wasn't what mattered. What mattered was that my sister, my only sister, the person I'd shared a room with for 18 years, had chosen her ideology over me. After I hung up with my mother, I sat there for a long time, thinking. Feeling sorry for myself. Wondering how I was going to get through this. Then I had an idea. It was petty. It was vindictive. It was probably the wrong thing to do. But I was going to do it anyway. I pulled up Instagram on my phone and navigated to Megan's account. Her feed was exactly what I expected, photos of her and Derek looking perfect, Bible verses, inspirational quotes about traditional marriage and family values, pictures from her church. But more importantly, there were photos with friends. The same 12 women appeared over and over. I recognized all of them. They'd been my friends too, back in high school. Sarah Martinez, Michelle Chen, Kate Sullivan, Ashley Johnson. All of them had been part of our friend group at Brookline High. We'd had sleepovers together, gone to prom together, spent every weekend hanging out. Then I'd come out, and they'd all drifted away. Or more accurately, Megan had claimed them. She'd made it clear that they had to choose between us, and they'd chosen her. I hadn't seen or spoken to any of them in years. But now, looking at Megan's Instagram, seeing them all still close, still getting together, still part of each other's lives, I felt a surge of anger. These women had abandoned me because it was easier than standing up to Megan. They'd chosen comfort over loyalty, conformity over courage. Well, I was going to give them another choice. I pulled up my laptop and opened a document. Started drafting a letter. Rachel came home around 6 that evening and found me surrounded by addressed envelopes, stamps, and a stack of expensive cream-colored cards from Crane & Company. "What's all this?" she asked. "I'm inviting Megan's friends to our wedding." Rachel's eyes widened. Her friends? The ones who ditched you? The ones who were my friends first. Before Megan claimed them. I held up one of the cards. "I bought 12 sets of these. Cost me $800. Custom invitations, handwritten notes, the works. Jenny, are you sure about this? What if they don't come? What if they tell Megan and she gets even angrier? Then I'll know exactly where everyone stands. And honestly, I don't care if Megan gets angry. She already hates me. What's she going to do, hate me more?" Rachel sat down next to me, picking up one of the cards. Read the note I'd written inside. "Dear Sarah, we were friends once, before life got complicated. I'm marrying the love of my life this September in Boston. Megan won't be there. But I'd love for you to be. No pressure. Just an invitation from an old friend who misses you. Love, Jenny." "It's beautiful," Rachel said softly. "And sad. That's kind of how I feel right now. Beautiful and sad. What if they all say no? Then I'll have spent $800 confirming what I already knew. That people are cowards who care more about avoiding conflict than doing the right thing." I sealed another envelope. But what if they say yes? Then Megan is going to lose her mind. Good. Let her. She rejected me. Now she can see what it feels like to be rejected by people she thought were loyal to her. Rachel was quiet for a moment, watching me address envelopes. "You know, when you first told me about your sister, I thought maybe you were exaggerating. That it couldn't be as bad as you made it sound. But this, what she said to you yesterday, calling your wedding a circus. I'm not exaggerating. This is exactly who she is. Rigid, judgmental, convinced she's right about everything. She's so deep in her evangelical bubble that she can't see past it. Do you think she'll ever change? No. People like Megan don't change. They just get more entrenched in their beliefs. Especially when they've built their whole identity around them." I finished addressing the last envelope. 12 invitations, 12 chances for old friends to do the right thing. I'm going to mail these tomorrow, I said. Then we wait and see what happens. And if Megan finds out? She will find out. Someone will tell her. And she'll probably call me furious. But I don't care anymore. I'm done trying to make her comfortable. I'm done shrinking myself to fit into her narrow worldview. This is my wedding, and I'm going to celebrate it with people who actually care about me. Rachel kissed my forehead. I love you. You know that? I love you too. That night, I dreamed about high school. About sleepovers with Sarah and Michelle and Kate. About driving around Brookline in Sarah's beat-up Honda, windows down, music blasting. About feeling like I belonged somewhere, with people who understood me. Then I dreamed about coming out. About watching those same friends drift away one by one. About Megan telling them that I'd changed, that I'd been corrupted by liberal ideology, that I wasn't the Jenny they used to know. About being left behind. I woke up determined. This wedding was happening with or without Megan. With or without those friends. I was marrying Rachel, and nothing was going to stop that. But God, I hoped at least one of them would say yes. The next morning, I walked to the post office in Harvard Square and mailed all 12 invitations. Priority mail with tracking, so I'd know when they were delivered. Then I went to work at my architecture firm and tried to focus on anything other than those envelopes making their way through the postal system. I didn't tell anyone at work what was happening. Didn't mention that my sister had rejected me, that I'd sent revenge invitations to her friends, that my wedding was shaping up to be a minefield of family drama. I just did my job, reviewed blueprints, met with clients, and pretended everything was fine. But every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped. Was it one of them? Had they received the invitations already? Were they going to respond? 3 days passed before I got the first response. I was at home making dinner when Rachel came in holding an envelope. "This came for you," she said, her voice carefully neutral. I recognized the return address immediately. Sarah Martinez, Brookline, Massachusetts. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside was our RSVP card, filled out in Sarah's distinctive loopy handwriting. Attending, yes. +1. And underneath, on the lines meant for dietary restrictions or special requests, she'd written, "Jenny, I'm so happy for you. I always supported you. I was just scared to go against Megan. I'm sorry it took so long for me to be brave enough to show it. I'll be there. Love, Sarah." I burst into tears. She said yes, I told Rachel through the crying. She's coming. And she apologized. Rachel hugged me tight. I told you. Not everyone is like Megan. Over the next 2 weeks, the RSVPs came in. One by one, those cream-colored cards returned to me with check marks in the yes column. Michelle Chen. Yes, +1. Can't wait to see you again. Kate Sullivan. Yes. About time someone invited me to something fun. Ashley Johnson. Yes, +1. Your wedding sounds beautiful. Honored to be included. They kept coming. Every single one of them. All 12 friends said yes. Not one declined. Not one made excuses. They all apologized in their own ways. Said they'd been wrong to abandon me. Said they'd let Megan's influence override their own judgment. Said they were happy I'd reached out. I cried reading each one. Happy tears this time. Tears of relief and vindication and something like hope. I can't believe they all said yes, I told Rachel. Every single one. I can. Because deep down, they probably always wanted to support you. They just needed permission. Needed someone to make it okay to go against Megan. You think they've been feeling guilty all these years? I think people usually know when they're being cowards. And I think most of them hate themselves for it. The last RSVP arrived on a Tuesday. I now had 12 confirmed guests from my old life. 12 people who'd once abandoned me but were now choosing to show up. It wasn't enough to completely heal the hurt. But it was something. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Jennifer. Megan's voice, cold and furious. What the hell do you think you're doing? Hi, Meg. I'm fine, thanks for asking. How are you? Don't play games with me. I know what you did. You invited my friends to your wedding. Behind my back. Without asking me. They're not your friends, Megan. They were my friends first. You just claimed them after I came out because you needed your own little echo chamber of people who agreed with your homophobia. I'm not homophobic. I'm a Christian who follows biblical truth. Same thing in this context. And yes, I invited them. Because I wanted to see who would actually show up for me. Who would choose doing the right thing over avoiding conflict with you. This is manipulative. This is emotional blackmail. No, this is me taking back something you stole. Those friendships were mine before they were yours. And you know what? They all said yes. Every single one of them. They're all coming to my wedding. The silence on the other end was deafening. They can't, Megan finally said, her voice shaking. I've already told them they're not allowed to go. You told them? Allowed? Meg, these are grown women. They don't need your permission. If they go, they're choosing you over me. They're betraying me. Then I guess they're choosing me. Funny how that works. When people actually have to pick between supporting someone's happiness or supporting someone's judgmental bullshit, they tend to go with happiness. You're being vindictive. This is revenge. You're damn right it's revenge. You called my wedding a circus. You said I should find someone from my people. Well, I found them. Turns out my people are the same people you thought were your people. The difference is, they actually like me. I'm calling every single one of them. I'm telling them they have to choose. Me or you. And they'll choose me. I'm the one who's been there for them all these years. Good luck with that. I'll be interested to see how many of them appreciate being given ultimatums. You're going to regret this, Jennifer. The only thing I regret is ever thinking you might put family before your hatred. Goodbye, Megan. I hung up before she could respond. Rachel had been listening to the whole conversation. She sounds rattled. Good. She should be. For years she's gotten to play the victim, telling everyone how I abandoned the family, how I chose my lifestyle over my values. Now she's realizing that maybe, just maybe, people don't actually agree with her. That maybe they've been going along with her bigotry out of convenience rather than conviction. Do you think she'll actually call them all? Probably. And some of them might cave. Might decide it's easier to go along with Megan than stand up to her. But that's okay. I'd rather know now who's actually willing to show up for me. Over the next few days, I heard from several of the women. They forwarded me texts and voicemails from Megan, and they were exactly what I'd expected. If you go to Jennifer's wedding, we can't be friends anymore. You're betraying everything we believe in. I thought you were better than this. Choose. Me or her. You can't have both. Most of them ignored her or responded with gentle but firm refusals. Megan, I love you, but I'm not going to skip Jenny's wedding. This isn't about choosing sides. It's about supporting an old friend. 2 of them did cave. Michelle sent me a guilty text saying she couldn't come after all, that Megan had made it impossible, that she was sorry. I was disappointed but not surprised. Some people would always choose the path of least resistance. But 10 of them held firm. 10 women who were willing to risk Megan's wrath to do the right thing. It was more than I'd hoped for. The wedding was 4 months away. I had 10 old friends coming. I had Rachel's family and friends. I had colleagues from work. I had our community in Boston. What I didn't have was my sister. But I was learning to be okay with that. Or at least, I was trying to be. The months leading up to the wedding passed in a blur of planning and preparation. Rachel and I threw ourselves into the details, trying to focus on the joy of the occasion rather than the pain of who wouldn't be there. We'd chosen the Arnold Arboretum in Jamaica Plain for the ceremony. It was a beautiful botanical garden, part of Harvard University, with rolling hills and thousands of plants from around the world. In September, it would be perfect, warm but not hot, the leaves just beginning to turn, everything still green and lush. The ceremony would be outdoors under a massive oak tree. Reception in a nearby event space. 87 confirmed guests, which felt like a good size. Intimate enough to feel personal, large enough to feel like a celebration. I'd hired a string quartet for the ceremony and a jazz band for the reception. Rachel had found a baker from Flour Bakery who'd make us a rainbow-layered cake. Everything was coming together beautifully. Except for the hole where my sister should have been. Have you thought about who you want as your maid of honor? Rachel asked one evening in July. We were sitting on our couch, wedding binder open between us, going through the timeline for the day. Sarah offered, I said. She said she'd be honored if I wanted her. That's sweet. Do you want her? I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the offer. And it would be meaningful, having her stand up there after all these years. But she's not who I wanted. You know? Rachel nodded. You wanted Megan. I wanted my sister. The person who knew me best. The person who was supposed to be there for every major moment of my life. I closed the binder, suddenly exhausted. Instead, I get a friend I haven't talked to in 7 years who's only there out of guilt. That's not fair to Sarah. She's trying to make amends. I know. You're right. I'm being bitter. You're allowed to be bitter. Your sister chose her church over you. That's worth being bitter about. I leaned my head on Rachel's shoulder. Do you ever regret this? Choosing me? Your family accepted us immediately. Mine fell apart. You could have found someone easier. Easier isn't better. And I didn't choose you despite the difficulty. I chose you because you're you. Because you're brilliant and kind and brave enough to be yourself even when your family couldn't handle it. That's not weakness. That's strength. I don't feel strong. You are though. You're getting married without your sister's blessing. You're rebuilding relationships that were broken. You're creating a family out of the people who actually show up for you. That takes incredible strength. Or incredible stubbornness. Rachel laughed. Maybe both. I said yes to Sarah being my maid of honor. She cried when I asked her, told me it meant the world, promised she'd make it up to me for all the years she'd been absent. I wanted to believe her. Wanted to believe that people could change, that friendships could be rebuilt, that the past didn't have to define the future. But part of me remained guarded. These women had abandoned me once. What was to stop them from doing it again? In August, my mother called with news. Your father and I ran into Megan and Derek at a restaurant last weekend, she said. In Newton, that new Italian place. Okay, I said carefully. My parents lived in Brookline, Megan in the Newton suburbs. They ran into each other occasionally. We asked her if she'd changed her mind about the wedding. Your father tried to convince her to come. Told her she was making a mistake. And? She said she's standing on principle. That she can't compromise her values. Derek backed her up, said they're in agreement about this. Of course he did. He's as bad as she is. Jennifer, that's not fair. You don't even know Derek. I know he goes to the same church as Megan. I know he voted for Trump. I know he thinks people like me are destroying America. That's all I need to know. My mother sighed. I'm not defending them. I just want you to know we tried. Your father was actually quite firm with her. Told her she was prioritizing politics over family. What did she say to that? She said family should uphold each other's values, not undermine them. That by accepting your lifestyle, we're undermining hers. Accepting my lifestyle? Mom, it's not a lifestyle. It's my life. It's who I am. Why can't anyone in this family use the right words? I'm trying, honey. I really am. But this is all new to us too. Your father and I grew up in a different time. We're learning. You've had 7 years to learn. At some point it stops being new and starts being a choice not to understand. That's harsh. So is having your daughter refuse to come to your wedding because she thinks you're sinful. We hung up shortly after, both frustrated. My parents meant well, but meaning well wasn't the same as actually doing well. They accepted me in theory but struggled with it in practice. They came to dinner with Rachel and me, were polite and kind, but there was always this underlying discomfort. This sense that they were tolerating something rather than celebrating it. It wasn't enough. But it was more than Megan was willing to give, so I took what I could get. September arrived faster than I expected. Suddenly the wedding was 2 weeks away, then 1 week, then 3 days. Rachel and I were both working full-time while trying to manage last-minute details. Confirming with vendors, finalizing the seating chart, making sure out-of-town guests had hotel information. I was so busy I almost didn't have time to be sad about Megan's absence. Almost. The night before the wedding, Rachel's parents hosted a rehearsal dinner at their home in Lexington. It was small, just immediate family and the wedding party. Rachel's parents, her 2 siblings, my parents, Sarah as my maid of honor, and a few close friends. Everyone kept carefully not mentioning Megan. The absence was so obvious it became its own presence at the table. Every time someone said something about family or sisters or childhood memories, I saw people glance at me, then away, clearly thinking about who wasn't there. Finally, during dessert, my father stood up with his wine glass. I want to make a toast, he said. To Jennifer and Rachel. Tomorrow you're getting married, and your mother and I couldn't be happier for you. He paused, clearly emotional. My father wasn't usually demonstrative, so seeing him tear up caught me off guard. Jenny, I haven't always understood your journey. I haven't always known the right things to say or do. But I want you to know that I'm proud of you. Proud of the woman you've become. Proud that you had the courage to live authentically, even when it wasn't easy. Even when, he glanced at my mother, even when your family made it harder than it should have been. My mother was crying now too. Rachel, welcome to our family, my father continued. We're lucky to have you. You make our daughter happy, and that's all we've ever wanted for her. Tomorrow is going to be beautiful, and we're honored to be part of it. Everyone raised their glasses. To Jennifer and Rachel. I was crying by then, and so was Rachel. My father sat down, and I got up to hug him. Thank you, Dad, I whispered. That means everything. I'm sorry it took me so long to say it, he whispered back. And I'm sorry about Megan. I tried. We both tried. I know you did. That night, I slept at my parents' house. Tradition said Rachel and I shouldn't see each other before the ceremony, so she stayed at our apartment while I went back to my childhood home. I lay in my old bedroom, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the times Megan and I had stayed up late talking in this house. She'd slept in the room next door until she left for college. We'd tap on the wall to communicate after our parents went to bed. 1 tap for, are you awake? 2 taps for yes. 3 taps for come to my room, I need to talk. I wondered if she was thinking about me tonight. If she was lying in her expensive house in Newton, in bed next to Derek, wondering if she'd made a mistake. Probably not. Megan didn't do regret. She did certainty. I fell asleep eventually, and dreamed about my wedding with Megan there, standing next to me, smiling. When I woke up, I felt the loss all over again. The morning of September 16th dawned clear and perfect. 72 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. Rachel texted me at 7 a.m., "I can't wait to marry you." I texted back, 5 more hours. Sarah picked me up at 9. She'd organized a getting-ready party at the event space near the Arboretum. All 10 of the old friends were there, plus a few of Rachel's friends. They'd set up mimosas and bagels, brought makeup and hair supplies, created this whole spa-like atmosphere. It was lovely. It was kind. And I spent the whole time fighting the urge to cry because none of them was Megan. "You okay?" Sarah asked at one point. We were alone in a corner while someone did my makeup. "Yeah. Just, feeling the absence. Of Megan. Of my sister. The person she used to be before she got so rigid and judgmental." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "Can I tell you something? About Megan?" "Sure. She called me last week. Tried one more time to get me not to come. And I told her no, that I was coming no matter what she said. And you know what she said?" "What?" "She said, 'I hope you enjoy the circus.' Just like that. Cold. Mean. Like your wedding was some kind of joke to her." I closed my eyes. That sounds like her. I'm telling you this because I want you to know that you're not losing anything valuable. The Megan who exists now? She's not worth mourning. She's chosen hate over love. Judgment over grace. And that's her loss, not yours. I know. Intellectually I know that. But she's still my sister. You can't just turn off 29 years of caring about someone. No. But you can recognize when someone has become toxic and protect yourself from them. And that's what you're doing. You're choosing yourself. Choosing Rachel. Choosing a life that doesn't include bigotry disguised as faith. That takes courage. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. By noon, I was dressed and ready. The dress was simple, white pantsuit with a flowing jacket, nothing too traditional. Rachel and I had decided to both wear white but in different styles. She was wearing a dress, I was wearing pants. It felt like us. The ceremony was at 2 p.m. We all drove to the Arboretum together, a caravan of cars filled with laughing women. It felt joyful. Celebratory. Almost enough to drown out the sadness. Almost. The Arboretum was spectacular. The events team had set up white chairs in rows under the massive oak tree we'd chosen. There were flowers everywhere, white roses and hydrangeas, with subtle rainbow accents. The string quartet was warming up, playing something classical and beautiful. Guests were already arriving. I watched from a window in the nearby building as people found their seats. Rachel's family took up most of the left side. My parents sat in the front row on the right, next to a few of my cousins who'd come despite Megan's disapproval. And then I saw them. All 10 women, dressed up and beautiful, filing into rows on my side. Sarah, Michelle, Kate, Ashley, and the others. They looked happy to be there. Excited. Rachel appeared next to me, stunning in her white dress. We weren't supposed to see each other yet, but neither of us cared. "Hi," she said, taking my hand. "Hi yourself. You look incredible. So do you. Ready for this? Ready to marry you?" "Absolutely. Ready for everyone to see who's not here?" "Not so much." Rachel squeezed my hand. "Look at who is here. 87 people who love us. Who support us. Who chose to show up. That's what matters." "I know. You're right. I just wish. I know what you wish. But we don't get that wish. We get this reality. And this reality is pretty damn good. I kissed her, not caring if it was bad luck or broke tradition. I love you. I love you too. Now let's get married. The ceremony was everything I'd hoped it would be. The quartet played Pachelbel's Canon as guests settled. Then they switched to an upbeat acoustic version of Can't Help Falling in Love as the wedding party walked down the aisle. Sarah went first as my maid of honor, beaming. Rachel's sister followed as hers. Then Rachel appeared at the end of the aisle, walking with her parents, and my breath caught. I walked alone. My parents had offered to walk with me, but I'd declined. This was my choice, my decision, and I wanted to walk it on my own terms. As I moved down the aisle, I looked at the faces of the people I loved. My parents, crying. Rachel's family, smiling. My old friends from high school, some of them tearing up. Colleagues from work. Friends from Boston. And one empty chair in the front row, right side. The spot where Megan should have been. I'd left it empty on purpose. A silent acknowledgement of her absence. A marker of what could have been but wasn't. When I reached the front, Rachel took my hands. The officiant, a friend because it's easy, but because you're worth it. Because we're worth it. I promise to build a family with you based on love and acceptance and grace, not judgment or conditions. You are my person, and I am so grateful I get to spend my life with you. I was crying by the time she finished. I took a breath and began my own vows. Rachel, when I came out 7 years ago, I lost people I thought would love me no matter what. But I found you. And you showed me what unconditional love actually looks like. You showed me that family isn't just who you're born to, it's who shows up for you. Who celebrates your joy and sits with you in your pain. Who chooses you even when choosing you is hard. I promise to be that person for you every day. To love you fiercely and proudly. To build a life with you that's full of joy and meaning and acceptance. You are my home, and I promise to protect that home with everything I have. We exchanged rings. Simple gold bands, matching. The officiant pronounced us married. Rachel kissed me, and everyone cheered. I was married. I'd done it. Without my sister. Without her blessing or her presence or her approval. And it was beautiful anyway. The reception was held in a nearby event space, a beautiful room with windows overlooking the arboretum. The jazz band was already playing when we arrived, filling the space with music. There was food and champagne and that spectacular rainbow cake. My father gave a toast. Rachel's father gave a toast. Sarah gave a toast that made everyone laugh and cry. The 10 women from high school gave a joint toast, apologizing for their absence from my life and promising to do better going forward. It was perfect. Almost. During dinner, my mother came over to our table. "Honey, I need to tell you something," she said quietly. "What's wrong?" Megan called. About an hour ago. She wanted to know if the wedding had happened yet. My stomach dropped. What did you tell her? That it was happening right now. That you were married. That it was beautiful and she should have been here. What did she say? My mother's eyes were wet. She said, "I hope she knows what she's done. She's chosen sin over family, and she'll have to answer for that someday." Then she hung up. I felt Rachel's hand find mine under the table. "I'm sorry, Jenny," my mother said. "I know you hoped she might change her mind. Come at the last minute. Something. It's okay, Mom. I knew she wouldn't. I guess some part of me kept hoping anyway. She's wrong, you know. You didn't choose sin over family. She chose judgment over love. That's on her, not you. I know. Thank you for saying that." My mother hugged me tight, then went back to her table. Rachel looked at me with concern. "You okay?" "Yeah. I mean, no. But I will be." She made her choice. I made mine. And I'm happy with my choice. Even though it means losing her? I didn't lose her. She threw me away. There's a difference. We danced our first dance to At Last by Etta James. Slow and sweet and perfect. Then the party really started. The jazz band played for hours. People danced and laughed and celebrated. Sarah found me during a quiet moment. I have something for you, she said. She handed me an envelope. All of us pitched in. The 10 of us. I opened it. Inside was a card with a handwritten note. Jenny, we can't change the past. We can't take back the years we weren't there for you. But we promise to be there going forward. You're stuck with us now. Love, your friends. Behind the card was a check for $5,000 made out to a charity of my choice. We figured you didn't need wedding gifts, Sarah explained. You and Rachel have already set up a home. So we wanted to do something meaningful. Donate to a cause you care about. Whatever you think is right. I was crying again. This is too much. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. But it's a start. I hugged her tight. Thank you. All of you. For being here. For showing up. It means everything. We should have done it 7 years ago. When you came out. We should have stood with you then. But you're here now. That's what matters. The party went until midnight. Then Rachel and I said goodbye to everyone and headed to our hotel. We'd booked a suite at the Four Seasons, planning to spend our wedding night in luxury before leaving for our honeymoon in Italy. In the hotel room, we finally had a moment alone. Rachel unzipped my jacket, I helped her out of her dress. We stood there in our underwear, just looking at each other. We did it, Rachel said. We're married. We're married, I repeated. How do you feel? Happy. Relieved. Sad for you that Megan wasn't there. All of it at once. I feel the same. It was perfect and painful at the same time. Do you regret anything? Any of it? No. I don't regret marrying you. I don't regret the wedding. I don't regret inviting those women. The only thing I regret is having a sister who couldn't see past her bigotry long enough to be happy for me. That's her loss. I know. Everyone keeps saying that. Her loss, not mine. But it feels like mine too. Because I'm the one standing here on my wedding night missing my sister. She's probably sleeping peacefully, convinced she did the right thing. Rachel pulled me close. Maybe. Or maybe she's lying awake wondering what she missed. Wondering if she made a mistake. Either way, that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to be happy. To live your life fully. To show her that you don't need her approval to thrive. Living well is the best revenge? Something like that. We made love that night slowly, tenderly. Fell asleep wrapped around each other. And when I woke up the next morning, married to the love of my life, I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. Not complete peace. The Megan-shaped hole was still there. But peace nonetheless. I'd done it. I'd gotten married without my sister. I'd built a ceremony full of love and support and community. I'd proven to myself that I could survive her rejection and be happy anyway. It was enough. It had to be enough. Rachel and I spent 2 weeks in Italy for our honeymoon. Tuscany, Rome, the Amalfi Coast. It was spectacular. We ate too much pasta, drank too much wine, wandered through ancient ruins and Renaissance art. We didn't talk about Megan once. When we returned to Boston, life returned to normal. Work, friends, building our life together. We bought a house in Cambridge, a 3-bedroom townhouse we could barely afford but loved. We adopted 2 cats. We hosted dinner parties. We were happy. My relationship with the 10 women from high school deepened. We started meeting for monthly dinners, rebuilding the friendships that had lapsed. It wasn't the same as it had been in high school, but it was something. A new foundation built on honesty instead of convenience. Years passed. Rachel and I celebrated our first anniversary, then our second. My parents gradually became more comfortable with our relationship. They spent holidays with us, treated Rachel like a daughter-in-law, stopped using careful language and started just being themselves. But Megan remained absent. A ghost in my life. Present through her absence. I unfollowed her on social media but didn't block her. Some part of me couldn't quite cut that final tie. So occasionally, usually late at night when I couldn't sleep, I'd look at her Instagram. Her life looked perfect. Photos with Derek, their beautiful house, their church community. Posts about traditional marriage and family values. Inspirational quotes about standing firm in your faith. Everything carefully curated to project success and righteousness. I wondered sometimes if she was happy. If her perfect life was actually perfect, or if it was all performance. But I never reached out to ask. And she never reached out to me. We existed in separate worlds, connected only by blood and history and the memory of who we used to be. My parents tried occasionally to broker peace. Maybe you could call her, my mother suggested at Thanksgiving 3 years after the wedding. Just to say hello. Break the ice. Why should I be the one to reach out? She's the one who rejected me. Because you're the one who's happy. Who has a good life. You can afford to be generous. That's not how this works, Mom. I'm not obligated to make peace with someone who thinks I'm sinful just because my life turned out well despite her. I'm just saying, life is short. You're sisters. It seems sad to waste these years being angry. I'm not angry. I'm indifferent. There's a difference. But I wasn't entirely indifferent. If I was, I wouldn't still be looking at her Instagram at 2 a.m. Wouldn't still feel a pang every time someone mentioned sisters. Wouldn't still have moments where I wanted to call her and tell her about my day, the way I used to before everything fell apart. The truth was more complicated than indifference. I was angry and sad and hurt and relieved and peaceful and broken all at once. I'd moved on but not entirely. I'd healed but not completely. Megan was a scar I carried. Mostly invisible, occasionally painful, always there. 5 years after our wedding, my father had a heart attack. Sudden, unexpected, fatal. He was 68 years old. The funeral was devastating. My mother was shattered. I was lost. And Megan and I were in the same room for the first time in 5 years. She sat on one side of the church. I sat on the other. We didn't speak. Didn't make eye contact. Moved through the funeral like strangers who happened to share a last name. At the reception afterward, held at my parents' house, we couldn't avoid each other forever. We ended up in the kitchen at the same time, both reaching for coffee. "Hello, Jennifer," she said stiffly. "Megan. I'm sorry about Dad." "Me too." We stood there in awkward silence. I studied her face, looking for something familiar. She'd aged. There were fine lines around her eyes, a hardness to her mouth that hadn't been there before. She looked tired. Successful but tired. "How's Rachel?" she asked, like she was asking about the weather. "She's good." "How's Derek?" "Fine. Busy with work." More silence. Then she said, "I saw you bought a house. In Cambridge. You've been checking up on me?" "Mom mentioned it." "I wasn't stalking you or anything." "Right. Look, Jennifer. I know we haven't spoken in years. I know you're angry with me. But Dad just died. Can't we put aside our differences for one day? Put aside our differences? Megan, you think my marriage is sinful. You refused to come to my wedding. You called it a circus. Those aren't differences. That's rejection. I was standing on my principles. And I'm living with the consequences of your principles. So no, I don't think we can just put this aside for a day and pretend we're sisters again. I never stopped being your sister. Yes, you did. The day you chose your church over me. The day you decided your interpretation of an ancient text mattered more than our relationship. You stopped being my sister then. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Megan. But it's reality. You made your choice. Now we both have to live with it. I left the kitchen before she could respond. Found Rachel and told her I needed to leave. We said goodbye to my mother and drove home in silence. You okay? Rachel asked when we got home. I don't know. Seeing her, talking to her, it brought everything back. All the hurt I thought I'd processed. Grief does that. Makes everything raw again. I thought maybe at Dad's funeral, she'd realize how short life is. How stupid it is to waste it being rigid and judgmental. But she's exactly the same. Still convinced she's right. Still treating me like I'm the problem. Some people never change. That's what I'm afraid of. My mother's health declined after my father's death. Grief and age catching up with her. In 2021, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. Terminal. I spent months taking care of her. Driving back and forth to Brookline, managing her medications, coordinating with hospice, making sure she was comfortable. Rachel came with me as often as she could, bringing her medical expertise, helping me navigate the healthcare system. Megan visited occasionally, flying up from wherever she and Derek were living at that point. They'd moved to Newton, a wealthy suburb, after Derek's hedge fund really took off. She'd show up for a few hours, sit with our mother, pray with her, then leave. We coordinated our visits to avoid each other. My mother knew and it broke her heart, but she was too weak to fight it. In her last days, when she was heavily medicated and barely conscious, she called for both of us. Wanted us in the room together. Megan and I sat on opposite sides of her bed, not looking at each other, while our mother drifted in and out of consciousness. My girls, she whispered at one point. My beautiful girls. Please. Please forgive each other. Neither of us responded. Life is too short, she continued, her voice barely audible. Too short for this. For hate. Please. I don't hate her, Mom, I said, looking at Megan for the first time. I just don't know her anymore. She's a stranger who happens to share my DNA. Jennifer, Megan started. Don't. Just don't. Mom wants us to make peace. But we can't. Because you still think I'm wrong. You still think my marriage is sinful. And I still think you're a bigot. So there's no middle ground here. No reconciliation. My mother cried weakly. Please. I'm sorry, Mom. I wish I could give you this. But I can't. I can't pretend we're sisters when we're not. Megan stood up, her face pale. I need some air. She left the room. My mother looked at me with such sadness I could barely stand it. She's your sister, my mother whispered. She was my sister. Now she's just someone who shares my last name. My mother died 2 days later. Peacefully, the hospice nurse said, though I wasn't sure how peaceful it could be when your dying wish was for your daughters to reconcile and they refused. The funeral was similar to my father's. Megan on one side, me on the other. No communication. No acknowledgement beyond the bare minimum. I handled the estate since I'd been the primary caregiver. Sold the house, split everything 50-50 with Megan. We did it all through lawyers and email. Never spoke directly. When it was done, I blocked her number. Blocked her on social media. Cut the last remaining ties. I was done. Completely done. I'd given her chances. Our mother had begged us to reconcile. And Megan had remained inflexible, convinced of her righteousness, unwilling to bend even slightly. So I was finished. She was no longer my sister. She was nothing to me. Or so I told myself. But late at night, I still thought about her. Still wondered what she was doing. Still felt the ghost of our relationship haunting me. Rachel noticed. You're thinking about Megan again. How can you tell? You get this look. Sad and distant. I don't want to think about her. I want to move on completely. But I can't seem to. Maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe she'll always be part of your story, even in her absence. That's depressing. Or it's just reality. We don't get to choose our families. We don't get to choose who hurts us. We only get to choose how we respond. I chose to cut her off. And that was the right choice. But it doesn't mean you stop feeling things. Doesn't mean you stop wishing things were different. Rachel was right, of course. I couldn't turn off 29 years of sisterhood just because the last 7 had been painful. Couldn't erase the memory of who Megan used to be just because I hated who she'd become. So I carried her with me. A complicated grief for someone who was still alive but lost to me anyway. And life went on. Work, friends, marriage, all of it. I got promoted to senior partner at my architecture firm. Rachel became head of her department at the hospital. We talked about maybe adopting kids someday. We traveled. We built a life we loved. A life that didn't include Megan. And most days, that was okay. Most days, I didn't think about her at all. But then, 7 years after my wedding, my phone rang at 10:47 on a random Tuesday night. Rachel and I were watching Succession on HBO, our latest binge. I had a bowl of popcorn in my lap. Life was good. Peaceful. Normal. The phone rang. Unknown number, Tennessee area code. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Hello? Jenny. A woman's voice, broken and desperate. My sister's voice. Jenny, it's me. It's Megan. I sat up so fast I spilled popcorn everywhere. Rachel hit pause on the TV and looked at me with concern. What do you want? My voice came out cold, guarded. I need to talk to you. I need help. Please, I know I don't deserve it, but please just listen. I'm listening. You have 2 minutes. Derek left me. Her voice broke completely. He sent me an email last night. At 11 p.m. One sentence. I want a divorce. My lawyer will contact you. That's it. That's all I got after 9 years of marriage. I felt Rachel's hand find mine. I'm sorry to hear that, I said carefully. But I don't understand why you're calling me. Because I have nowhere else to go. Mom, I come there? I just need someone. Anyone. Please. 7 years of silence. 7 years of her choosing her church over me, her principles over our relationship, her judgment over love. And now she needed me. I looked at Rachel. She was watching me carefully, leaving the decision entirely up to me. Do you remember, I said slowly, what you called my wedding to Rachel? What? Jenny, that was 7 years ago, I don't see what. You called it a democratic circus. You said I was celebrating a sinful LGBT lifestyle. You said it went against your Christian values and the teachings of Pastor John at Cornerstone Baptist Church. Jenny? You told me to find someone from my people. Like Rachel and I weren't even human to you. Like our love was a joke. A circus. I was wrong. I see that now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But please, that was years ago. Can't we move past it? I felt something cold settle in my chest. Something hard and final. I have values too, Megan. And I don't support failed heterosexual marriages with infidelity. Your situation goes against my personal beliefs and convictions. What? Jenny, that's not. I can't publicly support someone whose marriage fell apart because of sin. Because that is sin, right? According to your church? Adultery? Breaking sacred vows? Stop it. This isn't funny. I'm not being funny. I'm being honest. You see, Megan, you had 7 years to reach out to me. 7 years to apologize. To tell me you were wrong. To try to rebuild our relationship. You didn't. You chose your church, your principles, your perfect life over me. Every single day for 7 years, you chose not to be my sister. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong about everything. I see that now. Please, Jennifer, please don't do this. I'm begging you. 7 years too late. You know what you should do? You should find help from your people. From your church friends. From Pastor John. I'm sure your Christian values community will show up for you now that you need them. They didn't, she said, her voice breaking. They all disappeared. Derek was well connected. Everyone took his side. The church, his friends, everyone. I'm completely alone. Then I guess you understand how I felt 7 years ago. When you refused to come to my wedding. When you publicly rejected my marriage. When you made it clear that I wasn't worth standing next to because of who I loved. Jenny, please. I'm dead to you, remember? That's what you've been treating me as for 7 years. Dead. And dead people can't help living people. It's physically impossible. Don't do this. Don't be cruel. I'm not being cruel. I'm setting boundaries. I'm protecting myself from someone who hurt me deeply and has shown no remorse until it was convenient for her. You made your choice, Megan. Now live with it. I have nowhere to go. Don't you understand? I'm going to be homeless. Find someone from your people to help you. I'm sure they'll show up. And I hung up. Rachel stared at me. Did you just? I did. How do you feel? My hands were shaking. I don't know. Satisfied? Vindicated? Horrible? All of it? That was harsh. She deserved harsh. She destroyed me 7 years ago. Called my love sinful. Called my marriage a circus. I just returned the favor. But she's your sister. She's clearly in a crisis. She was my sister. She stopped being my sister when she chose her bigotry over our relationship. And her crisis? That's not my problem. That's the consequence of building your entire life on judgment and self-righteousness. Rachel was quiet for a moment. I support whatever you decide. You know that. But are you sure? Once you do this, you can't take it back. I'm sure. She had 7 years to make this right. 7 years to be my sister again. She chose not to. Now she's reaping what she sowed. We went back to watching TV, but I couldn't focus. My phone started buzzing almost immediately. Text after text from Megan's number. I didn't read them. Just watched the notifications pile up. By the time we went to bed, there were 15 unread messages. By morning, there were 32. I never opened a single one. The texts kept coming for 3 weeks. I watched the number climb 40, 50, 60. Each notification was a tiny stab of guilt, quickly suppressed by remembered pain. Rachel asked me once if I was going to read them. I said no. Don't you wonder what she's saying? I know what she's saying. She's desperate, she's sorry, she's begging. Maybe she's angry now. Maybe she's bargaining. I don't care. I'm not engaging. That's a lot of messages to ignore. She ignored 7 years of my life. I think I can ignore a few weeks of texts. By the end of the 3rd week, I had 86 unread messages from Megan. 86 desperate attempts to reach me. Each one costing her emotionally, I assumed. Each one met with my silence. Then, on a cold December evening, my Ring doorbell started going off. I was in the kitchen making dinner. Rachel was upstairs working on patient notes. I pulled out my phone to check the camera, expecting a delivery. Instead, I saw Megan. She was standing on my front porch in Cambridge, wearing a thin jacket that was clearly inadequate for the 28-degree weather. No gloves, no scarf. She looked terrible, thinner than I remembered, hair disheveled, eyes red and swollen. She rang the doorbell again. Then again. I watched through the camera app as she pressed it repeatedly, her finger shaking. "Please," she said to the camera. "Jenny, I know you're home. I can see the lights on. Please let me in. I just need to talk to you. 5 minutes. Please." I set my phone down and went back to chopping vegetables. Who was at the door? Rachel called from upstairs. Nobody important. But my hands were shaking as I cut the carrots. The doorbell kept ringing. I counted. 15 times. 20. My phone was buzzing constantly with motion alerts. Rachel came downstairs. "Jenny, someone's really persistent. Should I check?" "It's Megan." "What? Your sister is here?" "On the porch. She flew up from Nashville, I guess. She's been ringing the doorbell for 10 minutes. Rachel looked at me with concern. "Are you going to let her in? It's freezing out there." "No." "Jenny?" "No. She made her choice 7 years ago. I'm making mine now. She's your sister. She's clearly desperate." "Good. Maybe desperation will teach her something. Like how it feels to be rejected by family. Like how it feels to stand outside in the cold while the person you need most refuses to open the door." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "This isn't like you. Maybe it should be. Maybe I've been too soft for too long. Too willing to forgive people who don't deserve forgiveness. Too ready to set aside my own pain to make other people comfortable. Or maybe you're being cruel because you're hurt. Can't it be both?" The doorbell rang again. And again. I checked my phone. Megan was crying now, visible on the camera. She'd been out there for almost 20 minutes. "Please," she was saying to the camera, her voice breaking. "I know I don't deserve this. I know I was terrible to you. I know I should have been at your wedding. I know I said unforgivable things. But I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong about everything. Please just let me in so we can talk. Please." I watched her through my phone screen. This woman who used to be my sister. Who I'd shared a room with, shared secrets with, shared a life with. Now a stranger on my porch, begging for mercy I wasn't sure I had to give. "I'm going upstairs," I told Rachel. "Tell me when she leaves." "You're really not going to talk to her?" "I really am not." I went to our bedroom on the 2nd floor and closed the door. I could still hear the doorbell ringing, fainter now but persistent. I put in earbuds and turned on music, trying to drown out the sound. But I couldn't drown out the guilt. It gnawed at me, a living thing in my chest. She was my sister. She was suffering. She was right there, and I was refusing to help. But she'd done the same to me, hadn't she? When I was suffering 7 years ago, planning a wedding without my family, crying myself to sleep over her rejection, she'd been perfectly comfortable in Nashville with Derek, posting Bible verses about traditional marriage, secure in her righteousness. Why should I comfort her now? "Because you're not her," a voice in my head whispered. Because being better means actually being better, not just matching cruelty with cruelty. I pushed the voice away. After 40 minutes, Rachel knocked on the bedroom door. She's gone. An Uber just picked her up. I came downstairs. Checked the Ring camera footage. Watched Megan sit on our steps for the last 10 minutes, crying, before finally giving up and calling for a ride. Watched her climb into the car, looking back at the house one last time before driving away. How do you feel? Rachel asked. I don't know. Empty, I think. Like I just did something I can't take back. You could still call her. Text her. It's not too late. It's 7 years too late. That's the point. She had every opportunity to reach out before her life fell apart. She didn't. She only wants me now because she needs something. That's not love. That's convenience. Maybe. Or maybe her life falling apart gave her perspective. Showed her what really matters. If it takes your husband leaving you to realize your sister matters, then you don't deserve that sister. Rachel didn't argue. We ate dinner in near silence, both of us processing what had just happened. I'd turned away my sister in her time of need. Let her freeze on my porch while I stayed warm inside. Watched her beg and done nothing. I should have felt victorious. This was the revenge I'd fantasized about. Megan finally understanding how rejection felt. Finally facing consequences for her choices. Instead, I felt hollow. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept replaying the footage of Megan on my porch. The desperation in her voice. The tears. The cold. Around 3 a.m., I got up and went to my laptop. Opened Facebook for the first time in months. Searched for Megan's profile. Her last post was from 3 weeks ago. A request for prayers for an unspecified difficult situation. The comments were sparse, a few praying for you responses, but nothing substantial. Nothing offering real help. I scrolled back through her timeline. The last year showed a gradual decline in posting frequency. The carefully curated perfection of her earlier posts, the happy couple photos, the church events, the inspirational quotes, had slowly given way to more generic content. Shared articles. Bible verses without commentary. It was like watching someone disappear in real time. Then I saw a post from 6 months ago. A photo of her and Derek at some charity gala. They were dressed up, smiling at the camera. The caption read, "Blessed to support such an important cause with my amazing husband." I zoomed in on the photo. Looked closely at their body language. Derek's hand was on her shoulder, but there was distance between them. Her smile looked forced. There was something in her eyes, sadness, maybe, or resignation. Had she known even then? Had she suspected he was cheating? I closed the laptop and went back to bed. Rachel was awake, waiting for me. You okay? I looked at her Facebook. And I think she's been struggling for a while. Her life wasn't as perfect as she made it seem. Most people's lives aren't. Do you think I should have let her in? Rachel was quiet for a long moment. I think you did what you needed to do to protect yourself. Whether that was the right thing or the kind thing, I don't know. Maybe they're not always the same. I wanted her to hurt. To feel what I felt. Is that terrible? It's human. You're allowed to want justice. To want people who hurt you to understand what they did. But revenge doesn't usually feel as good as we think it will. It doesn't fill the hole. It just creates a new one. I fell asleep eventually, Rachel's arms around me, and dreamed about Megan. We were kids again, sharing our room. Tapping on the wall. 3 taps, I need to talk. In the dream, I tapped back. Yes, come over. But when I opened the door, no one was there. The next morning, I blocked Megan's number. All 86 unread messages disappeared. I also blocked her email, her social media, anything she might use to reach me. Complete cutoff. Total silence. Rachel watched me do it. You're sure? I'm sure. She had her chance. Multiple chances. I'm done. What if she keeps trying? Comes back here? Then I'll call the police. Tell them someone is harassing me. Which she would be. That seems harsh. Good. I'm tired of being soft. Soft got me rejected at my own wedding. Soft got me 7 years of pain. I'm done being soft. But blocking her didn't bring peace. If anything, I felt more unsettled. The finality of it, cutting off the last possible avenue of contact, felt huge. Irreversible. I threw myself into work. Took on extra projects. Stayed late at the office. Anything to avoid thinking about Megan. My friends noticed. Sarah called me one evening. Jenny, are you okay? You seem off lately. I'm fine. Just busy with work. It's more than that. You've been distant. Distracted. What's going on? I hadn't told anyone about Megan's call, her visit, any of it. It felt too raw. Too complicated. My sister reached out, I said finally. She's going through a divorce. Asked for help. I said no. Oh. That must have been hard. It was easy, actually. That's what's bothering me. Saying no felt good. Maybe too good. Jenny, after what she did to you? After missing your wedding, treating you like you were sinful, rejecting you for 7 years? You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to protect yourself. But she's my sister. She was desperate. And I watched her beg and felt nothing. You felt something or you wouldn't be this torn up about it. I don't know what I feel. Vindicated? Guilty? Satisfied? Horrible? All of it? That's normal. This is complicated. There's no right answer. Everyone keeps saying that. But there has to be a right answer. Either you help family no matter what, or you don't. Either you forgive, or you don't. Either you're a good person, or you're not. Life isn't that binary. You can be a good person and still refuse to help someone who hurt you. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. After we hung up, I sat with that thought. Could I be a good person and still turn away my sister? Could I be kind and still refuse to rescue someone who'd spent years treating me as less than? I wanted to believe the answer was yes. But I wasn't sure. Christmas came 2 weeks later. Rachel and I spent it with her family in Connecticut. It was lovely, warm and welcoming, and full of the kind of easy affection I'd always wanted from my own family. But on Christmas morning, while everyone was opening presents and drinking coffee and laughing, I found myself wondering where Megan was. If she was alone. If she'd found somewhere to go for the holidays. Then I remembered she'd chosen to be alone. She'd chosen her church over me, her principles over our relationship. She'd made her bed. Now she could lie in it. But the thought didn't bring satisfaction. Just a deep, aching sadness. On New Year's Eve, Rachel and I were at a party with friends when my phone buzzed. A message from a number I didn't recognize. Jenny, this is Sarah. Megan contacted me. She's staying with some distant aunt in Ohio. She wanted me to tell you she's okay. She said she understands why you won't talk to her. She said she's sorry. I'm just passing along the message. Hope you're doing well. Happy New Year. I showed Rachel the text. Are you going to respond? To Sarah? Maybe. To Megan? No. She's in Ohio now. With an aunt you probably barely know. Good for her. She found someone to take her in. That's what she wanted, right? Family to help her? You could be that family. I was that family. For 29 years. Then she decided I wasn't family anymore because I fell in love with a woman. She doesn't get to reclaim me now that her life fell apart. Fair enough. But as midnight approached and everyone counted down to the new year, I thought about Megan in Ohio. In some small town with an aunt she'd probably seen twice in her life. Starting over at 39 with nothing. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No guilt. Just a vast emptiness where my sister used to be. Months passed. Winter turned to spring, then summer. Life continued. Work, friends, travel. Rachel and I talked seriously about adoption. Looked into agencies. Started the paperwork. I didn't hear anything more about Megan. Didn't look for her on social media. Didn't ask mutual acquaintances how she was doing. She'd become a ghost, present through her absence, but no longer real. Then in August, almost a year after she'd called me that first time, I got a letter. Not an email or a text. An actual physical letter, forwarded through my parents' estate lawyer. Megan had sent it to their old address, and the lawyer had tracked me down. The envelope sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days before I opened it. When I finally did, my hands were shaking. The letter was handwritten on plain white paper. No fancy stationery. No careful presentation. Just words in my sister's familiar handwriting. Dear Jenny. I know you don't want to hear from me. I know you blocked my number and my email and every way I had to contact you. I know you watched me freeze on your porch and didn't open the door. I know you think I deserve all of this. You're probably right. I've been in Ohio for almost a year now. Living with Aunt Carol, who you probably don't even remember. She's Dad's sister. 68 years old, never married, lives in a tiny house in a tiny town. She took me in when I had nowhere else to go. I work at a factory now. Making parts for appliances. $8 an hour. I live in her spare bedroom that's barely big enough for a twin bed. I sold everything I had left to pay off debt. The BMW, my jewelry, my designer clothes. All of it gone. My church friends disappeared the moment Derek filed for divorce. Turns out their friendship was with Derek's money and status, not with me. Pastor John told me I must have failed as a wife if my husband left me. Asked what I'd done to drive him away. I have no one. I lost everything. My marriage, my home, my community, my sister. That last one is the one that hurts most. I know I have no right to ask for forgiveness. I know what I did was unforgivable. I called your love a circus. I said your marriage was sinful. I refused to stand next to you on the most important day of your life because I was so convinced I was right. I was wrong. About everything. I was wrong about you. About Rachel. About what love looks like. About what family means. About what really matters. It took losing everything to see it. I know that makes me pathetic. That I only learned when it was convenient for me. When I had nothing left. You were right to turn me away. I deserved that. I deserved to freeze on your porch. I deserved to feel what you felt 7 years ago when I abandoned you. I'm not writing this to ask for forgiveness. I'm not asking you to let me back into your life. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just telling you that I see it now. I see what I did. I see who I was. And I'm ashamed. You built a beautiful life without me. You're successful I caused. I'm sorry. For all of it. For every harsh word, every judgment, every moment I chose my pride over your happiness. I love you. I always did, even when I was too stupid and blind to show it. Your sister, Megan. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully, put it back in the envelope, and put it in my desk drawer. Rachel found me an hour later, sitting at my desk, staring at nothing. What's wrong? Megan wrote me a letter. What did it say? I handed it to her. Watched her face as she read. This is actually a good apology, Rachel said when she finished. She's not making excuses. She's not asking for anything. She's just acknowledging what she did. I know. Are you going to respond? I don't know. Part of me wants to. Wants to tell her I appreciate the apology. That maybe someday we can rebuild something. Part of me wants to burn the letter and forget it existed. What does the bigger part of you want? I thought about it. Really thought about it. The bigger part of me wants to move on. Not because I forgive her. Not because I think she's earned another chance. But because I'm tired. Tired of carrying this anger. Tired of the ghost of our relationship haunting me. Tired of feeling like she still has power over my emotions even though she's been gone from my life for years. So what are you going to do? Nothing. I'm going to do nothing. She said she's not asking for forgiveness or a relationship. She said she hopes I never think about her. So I'm going to honor that. I'm going to put this letter away and move on with my life. Are you sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. I put the letter in the drawer with the other memories of Megan. Photos from our childhood. A birthday card she'd given me years ago. Little fragments of who we used to be before everything fell apart. Then I closed the drawer and walked away. Life continued. Rachel and I were approved for adoption. 18 months later, we brought home a baby girl. Isabella Rose. Perfect and tiny in ours. My parents would have loved her. Would have been over the moon to be grandparents. But they were gone, and all Isabella would have were stories. And Megan would never meet her. Would never know she had a niece. Would never be Aunt Megan to this beautiful child. That was Megan's loss. Not mine. Not Isabella's. Megan's. I had everything I'd ever wanted. A wife who loved me unconditionally. A daughter who would grow up knowing she was chosen and wanted. A career I was proud of. Friends who actually showed up. A life built on acceptance and love rather than judgment and conditions. Megan had her factory job in Ohio and her twin bed in her aunt's spare room. Some people would say I should feel bad about that. Should feel guilty that I had everything while she had nothing. Should reach out and offer help and forgiveness and reconciliation. But those people didn't have to live through what I lived through. Didn't have to plan a wedding without their sister. Didn't have to hear their love called a circus. Didn't have to spend 7 years feeling like they were less than because of who they loved. I'd built this life despite Megan, not because of her forgiveness. I'd found happiness without her blessing. I'd created a family that didn't include her. And I was proud of that. Proud that I'd survived her rejection and thrived anyway. Proud that I'd refused to let her bigotry define me. Proud that when she'd finally come crawling back, desperate and broken, I'd had the strength to say no. Some people call that cruel. I call it boundaries. I call it self-respect. I call it knowing my worth and refusing to accept less. Megan made her choice 7 years ago when she refused to come to my wedding. She chose her church, her principles, her perfect life over our relationship. I made my choice when I hung up that phone. When I watched her freeze on my porch and didn't open the door. When I read her letter and put it in a drawer without responding. I chose myself. I chose Rachel. I chose the family I'd built from people who actually loved me. And I chose to let Megan go. Not with anger. Not with hatred. Just with the quiet acceptance that some relationships can't be saved. That some damage is irreparable. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who hurt you, even if they're family. Especially if they're family. Because family isn't supposed to make you feel less than. Isn't supposed to reject you for who you love. Isn't supposed to call your happiness a circus and your marriage a sin. Real family shows up. Real family celebrates you. Real family chooses love over ideology. And if your blood family can't do that, then you find the people who can. You build something better. Something stronger. Something real. That's what I did. And I don't regret it for a second. Megan had her chance. Multiple chances. She chose not to take them when they were offered freely, with love. By the time she finally wanted to take them, when her life had fallen apart and she had nowhere else to go, it was too late. Not because I'm cruel, but because I finally learned to value myself more than I valued her approval. She called my love sinful. I called her failed marriage against my values. She refused to stand next to me at my wedding. I refused to open the door when she stood on my porch. She chose her principles over her sister. I chose my peace over hers. And I sleep just fine at night. Because karma isn't always immediate. Sometimes it takes 7 years. But it always comes around. Megan learned that the hard way. And I learned that forgiveness isn't mandatory. That you don't owe anyone access to your life, even family. That protecting yourself is worth more than performing kindness for people who never showed you any. I hope Megan finds peace in Ohio. I hope she rebuilds her life. I hope she learns from her mistakes and becomes a better person. But I hope she does it without me. Because I'm done. Completely, finally done. She's not my sister anymore. She's just someone I used to know. Someone who made choices that cost her everything. Including me. And that's exactly what she deserves.